Welcome, everybody, to the Balcony Services Network, an approved member of the Fire Escape Services Network. And just so you know, we're all approved by the National Fire Escape Association. Today's class is going to be on the SB721. We've got some people here that are already in the background. They'll be asking us questions, and as questions come up, please let us know. In the meantime, let's talk about and bring you to the website that's going to help you answer any and all questions related to SB 721 and SB 326, as well as sneaking in the background 1032.2, which is the fire escape code. Okay, so let's go right to the website. So you guys can, if you need any information, just visit this website. It has information from everybody out there. So let's start here. So let's start here. The Balcony Services Network. We're going to be covering SB 721. When did that come out? When is the deadline? And SB 326. What's the difference? They're the exact same code. One is for HOAs, apartments and such, and the other one is for condos. Now, everybody is subject to the code for 6 years, and you have to have everything done by January 1, 2025. But then after you do your first examination on the 326, it then goes on to a 9-year cycle. Fire escapes are 5-year cycle. So we're going to talk about all three, but primarily focusing on the SB 721. Okay, so let's read it. What's it say on the SB 721? All right, so let's, as I'm highlighting here, if you want to highlight what I need to read here, you're going to see the existing law provides authority for an enforcement agency to enter. So you can highlight the whole thing for me, and then I'll just read it. Okay. To enter and inspect any building or premises whenever necessary to secure compliance with or prevent a violation of a building standards published in the California Building Standards Code and other rules and regulations that the enforcement agency, such as the building department or the fire department, has the power to enforce. This bill would require that an inspection of an exterior elevated element and associated waterproofing elements, as defined, including decks, balconies, for buildings with 3 or more multifamily dwelling units by a licensed architect, licensed civil or structural engineer, a building contractor holding specific licenses, or an individual certified as a building inspector or building official as specified. The bill would require the inspections, including any necessary testing, to be complete by January 1, 2025, with certain exceptions, and would require subsequent inspections every 6 years, except as specified, such as the 326 being 9 years after you do your first examination. The bill will require the inspection report to contain specified items and would require that a copy of the inspection report be presented to the owner of the building within 45 days, and the completion of the inspection, and would require copies of the reports to be maintained in the building owner's records for 2 inspection cycles as specified. The bill would also require that it be, if the inspection reveals conditions that poses an immediate hazard to the safety of the occupants, the inspection report be delivered to the owner of the building within 15 days and an emergency repairs be undertaken. Okay, so you visit the Senate Bill SB 721. That's what it's going to say. There's more there to read, and you can continue reading down. There's lots of information here. I'm not going to go into detail there, but basically it says you have to inspect your balconies. So let's see what caused this to happen. And what I want to do is I want to play you the incident that killed 6 or 7 people in Berkeley many, many years ago. I think it was about 8 years ago that this occurred, and it finally took a few years for it to go and get a Senate response or a legislative response to the balcony fatalities. So let's see what caused SB 721s to happen, okay, and the SB 326 to happen in the entire California cities and towns.
We're going to turn now to that deadly balcony collapse in California. The death toll in Berkeley growing. At least 6 people killed when a small balcony crowded with people collapsed. The dramatic images tonight, that balcony before and then after. Landing on the balcony below, the people on it then sent plummeting 4 stories. Those students celebrating a 21st birthday party, and tonight questions about the construction. Among them, was that wood treated, and was it a factor? ABC's Cecilia Vega in Berkeley tonight.
The 4th floor balcony was packed with partiers when it came crashing down overnight.
All the balconies broke.
Students, many visiting from Ireland here to work for the summer, falling more than 40 feet to the street below.
We got 3 patients on the ground need treatment. They're on back floors but need further treatment.
Emergency crews racing to the scene just blocks away from the UC Berkeley campus. Fellow students heard the horror.
It was just a loud crash and then silence for a couple of minutes and then just scream. That was all I heard, really.
The building not even a decade old. Here's the balcony before and after, completely detached, hurt. Witnesses say those students were all celebrating until it ended so tragically.
One of the girls had blood on her knees. A couple of the girls had no shoes because they couldn't get back into the apartment.
They told you they were here celebrating.
It was a 21st birthday party.
And that balcony still hanging out here behind me tonight. The other balconies in this complex off limits as investigators try to find out what happened out here. The owners of this building releasing a statement to us tonight, David, saying that resident safety is the highest priority.
All right. So what's that mean? Okay. That means, and you can leave it there now. What that means is that here's a 10-year-old building with wood attached to the structure, and it has a membrane there that's going to keep it from rotting. That membrane is one of the examinations that we do to make sure there's no leaks that are getting into the wood, causing dry rot, wet rot, and not including the fact that termites and carpenter ants can get in there. And all these things are a factor. Not just a factor on a 10-year-old building. Man, we've got buildings that are 50, 60, 75 plus years old, and they have wooden structures that are up there. Well, the entire California state is reacting to this and saying, hey, we really need to get on these balconies and really look at them, because we've been good on the fire escape side, which the law now has changed for fire escapes every 5 years, finally came out in 2022. And here we have now the balcony code. Now you have to have, they came out with this 5 years ago that you needed to get on this. You've had 5 years, and now the deadline is January 1, 2025, that everybody's supposed to have a certified fire escape. I'm sorry, a certified balcony on your structure. So now let's take a look at the deadline. We have 294 days left, 3 hours and such. But basically, if you want to know what the deadline is set by the legislature, it's on January 1, 2025. So let's scroll down a little bit more. We talked about the code. There's 2 codes here, 721 and 326. They're the exact same code. One is for apartment complexes. They want that every 6 years. And then you have 326 is for every condo association. Again, every 6 years the first time. But then you got to go every 9 years after you've met the deadline of January 1, 2025. Let's go on. So if you want to learn, read, people in your condo association or your HOA want to learn what's going on. The cause was 6 dead Irish students, and there was 13 that fell. So there's other injuries and permanent injuries for a lot of the other people that fell 40 feet. Okay. So we taught a class. So if you want to see what we're going to be talking about, we taught a class in Sacramento. So watch us teach in Sacramento a fire escape awareness class. And at the tail end of the fire escape awareness class, what did we do? We talked about SB721 and SB326 requirements, and we only gave it 10 to 15 minutes. And as you can see, they weren't up to it. They didn't know that that was a requirement, and because there's no deadline. And so right now, the Sacramento fire prevention is up to speed now. They're like, okay, we didn't know that this was there. And if we did know, we really didn't focus on it, because they're primarily focused on fire escapes. And the law that came out in 2022, January 1, that all fire escapes must be inspected every 5 years. Well, some of these balconies, as you're going to see, are balconies with staircases and they really fall into a fire escape, because a balcony or a deck or a stairway that is not part of the means of egress falls into SB721. But in some cases, some of the things we're looking at that have a ladder off of it, have a staircase off of it, is really a fire escape, and those are inspected every 5 years. So every time you get an assessment at your building, we're going to talk about, are you SB721s, SB326s? Are you fire escapes? Combination of both. You got to pick one so that you can stay on that cycle. That cycle will answer, everything that needs to be done. So just, there's definitely two types. If you have a Romeo and Juliet balcony that you hang on and there's no way to get off unless you get plucked off by a ladder, that's SB721s. Okay. If you have a fire escape and a deck, the fire escapes is every 5 years, but the deck is every 6 years. All right, let's continue. So that's, what we talked about, that you can watch that video. Here's another one. We did a seminar out in Hawaii. What happened there was a balcony, and a portion of that balcony was cement, like you see here, and a piece of railing on top of it. It fell 5 stories, and they don't have any program in Hawaii to examine balconies and railings. And look what happened. Look at all that rot. And it fell, and as you can see in that smaller picture there to the right, it actually fell and it avoided and almost injured 20 people. And as you can see, if you go to the photograph of the initial photograph there, you're going to see that what happened there was that it barely missed 10 people in front on beach chairs, and it barely missed 10 people on the back right there. If you can hold it right there. Look what happened. There was beachgoers. Every towel you see there is a beachgoer who was sitting there, and 5 stories above their head, a piece of balcony and iron railing fell, and it had this perfect runway to fall in between, and it did. So everybody to the left of this were saved and from being injured or killed. Everybody to the right of this, and when it hit that sand, it caused enough sand to go up and then bury that 1,500 to 2,000 pound cement. So as you can see there, that balcony is an example of the one just above it, that these things. So here's the look. Go back one. That's a piece of cement and a piece of railing. So we did a seminar immediately after this occurred. 3 to 5 days later, we did a seminar explaining that all these hotels along Honolulu, the highest concentration of hotels, needed to have their 50 to 75-year-old hotels, their railings inspected. So it's not, this can happen all over the world, as well as throughout the United States. But the only state that is doing this, the first state in the nation to make it a law, the SB 721 law, with a cycle of every 6 years for every wood structure over three families. Does that mean that the 2 families and the 1 families that have these things shouldn't be inspecting? No. Your insurance company is going to stop playing in here and saying, hey, if you have a Romeo and Juliet balcony of any kind, a deck of any kind, on some of these single families and 2 families, they're going to stop asking for that to be one of the required examinations. But right now, it's everything over 3 families or more. Okay. So let's go to the next one that you have here. And this is us and you'll see on this one that we're going to play, it's Alan, who's going to be there. And he was basically talking about a balcony that also had a fire escape embedded inside. So just take a listen.
The failure of the balconies at Berkeley, California. So now you're required to inspect on wood frame balconies. We basically need to do a little destructive testing, careful destructive testing. We'll punch some holes in there so we can get back in with the camera and take a look at the structural members. We're looking to see that if there's any dry.
So what he's saying here, okay, is that you can see the ladder and the fire escape, that this is a hybrid. So I will have to inspect the fire escape ladder and some stairs up above that feed the various floors under the fire escape code, okay? And that's the 1032.2. But look at the entire wooden balcony, all enclosed with stucco. And what he means by destructive testing is that the only way for us to see if there's a problem there is we have to drill holes every 16 inches, usually a 3-inch hole round or a 4-inch round hole, so we can put our camera in there, because it's asking us to tell you. So a lot of times you can see something with stains, but maybe not. You know what I'm saying? So we have to do this destructive testing, drill a hole, put in a camera, take pictures looking back, take pictures looking forward. For what? We're looking for dry rot, wet rot. We're looking for any carpenter ants, termites, because these buildings are now 35 to 55 to 75 years old or older. And our job is, and then when we're done this examination, we put a cap back on those holes. So in the initial stages, you're going to pay some money to have somebody come in and drill these holes, but then you want to put a cap back in there. So 5 years from now, 6 years from now, you can just put there's already an access hole there with a cap. So you remove the cap and there's no more, the cost is going to be lower for you to do an examination. All right. So once we know what needs to be done, that's the underneath. And we can either see exposed joists or we can't see them. And sometimes they have other technology, moisture technology. But now this is the second part of the exam. Watch as he's talking and what he's looking for. Go ahead, play the sound.
And then the same thing up here. So California enacted a law that requires that wood balconies be inspected every 5 years. So I'm just going to comment, we're not conducting that today. I conducted a fire escape inspection on the railings, the stair, and the ladder to grade. But just from my general view of things, this has been recently painted. Not seeing any kind of major cracking on the walls or the stucco. And again, we're going to need to investigate further. And probably what we're going to need to do is to cut holes. Actually, I'll just use this as an example, even though that's not about, we would cut a vent size hole the length of the balcony and then put a camera back in. That's one way we can do it, to check the wood framing. So what we're basically looking at is that there's no dry rot or termite damage, and that the system is safe to be occupied. A lot of people are using these balconies to sit on. Again, it's a fire escape, but so again, walls look good. But we'll need to take a look inside and see, make sure that there's no internal damage.
So if you want to pull that back a little bit, just show the membrane. Can you back that up a little bit more?
The fire escape.
Put it to full screen and just pause it. All right. So as you can see there, hairline cracks on the membrane. Well, you need to know that you have hairline cracks on your membrane, and that membrane is letting water get in and getting to your wood. And so what happens is, if that doesn't get addressed, what you're going to have is things that are going to be wetting your wood for 3, 5, 10 years. And that's what's going to cause the rot for this thing to fall when you overload it with 10, 20 people, whatever can fit on here. But a properly certified deck will never drop anybody. I don't care how many people you throw on there, but because it's got physical limitations of how many people. But if we can see things before, so SB721 is to address the membranes, identify any leaks, and then from below, you want to have, if the thing is wide open, it's easy. We can see the wood rot or not. But if it's blocked with sheetrock or it's blocked with stucco, we're going to have to either drill or cut a hole the length of it, and then a mesh is going to get put back, because it's going to be forever now, because we always need to get back in there. I recommend the holes, 3-inch round holes that are cut by a saw, so it's easy. Drill it.
So
Okay.
again,
So
walls look good.
this is the important inspection. By the way, these railings to the right. So can you go back until you see a railing? These railings are going to be, keep going back to these. Yeah, right there, that railing right there. This railing, when it's part of an examination for an SB721, you need to have a load test. So some are going to load test and some are not going to load test this railing. And so what it needs under the fire escape rule 1032.2, we laterally load test this thing with a 200-pound lateral load test to prove that it's not ripping out of the wall. But in some cases, under the SB 721, they may or may not ask for that. And you have to decide, because people who are on these balconies, they got their tailbone against the railings. They got their shoulders against the railings. And what happens is if those let go and somebody tumbles over, well, what inspection was this? Was it an SB 721 or was it a fire escape railing test that was done here? Well, we highly recommend that under SB 721, balconies only, no fire escape anywhere near the situation. What you want to do is you want to make sure that that railing is not pulling away from the building. Well, the law says you give it a lateral load test of 200 pounds concentrated load. And a lot of times if it's 3 or 5 areas that we laterally load test the railing to make sure that anybody leaning on it, putting their butt on it, don't topple over your balcony. Because a lot of these railings on your balconies don't have a lower cement section. And even that needs to be addressed as to whether or not that's going to be laterally load tested under SB 721s. So you got railings on cement, portions that are, 18 to 24 inches of cement at the bottom. And then in some cases, glass. Even the glass railings need to be examined. Wood railings, metal railings, aluminum railings, glass railings, all of them need to be laterally load tested in a proper SB 721, okay? Otherwise, you're getting nothing but an opinion, okay? An opinion affidavit, somebody's going to have to give you a document that says, hey, our opinion is that these things look great, and don't sue us. Whereas a lateral load test says, hey, we did what the law says. It didn't give way, and so it's good to go. And in case something happens 3 to 5 years later and the railing let go for whatever reason, it was an act of God. Okay, something happened in those 3 to 5 years because the lateral load test 3 to 5 years ago, that thing held. Okay, 200-pound lateral load test. All right, let's move on to the next piece of the page. Okay, navigating the maze. Here's an example, and some of these are borderline SB 721s and fire escapes. Okay, so you have to know which one you have. So a lot of times, if this is the only way in or the only way out, or it's the second means of in and the second means of the way out, let me explain. So whoever you're dealing with on the SB 721 side, has to tell you, where you're playing here. So let's listen to this information here.
Is way too wobbly.
Raise it high.
And the cement is not holding the hole that well.
Yeah, it's incorrectly done here, there, and there. So, would it pass the load test?
I don't think so. No, I don't think it would pass the load test. This looks like it's a crack in the 2x6 right there. This is under the stairs. The epoxy here has the same issue as the other part.
Yeah, it should have been hydraulic cement, not epoxy.
Should have been hydraulic cement. It's not as bad as the other part, but it still has
all of it. The whole entire rail
issues.
Needs to be re-cemented.
Re-cemented. The whole entire rail needs to be redone and re-cemented.
So let me make a comment on here. Is this an SB 721 inspection? Because look, it picks up all the front doors on all these apartments. And what you can do on this one is you can go out your door and you can go left and have a staircase, and you can go right and have a staircase. There is no fire escape on the back of this building. So sometimes this structure, which everybody believes is an SB 721 examination because it has wood, it has a deck, it has a platform, it really falls back into a means of egress. And so it's subject to the fire escape code. But can it be picked up under the SB 721 every 6 years? Sure. Sure it can, because now you're going to call it an SB 721 deck. You're going to have stairs in it, which is part of SB 721. And you want to do this every 6 years. So a lot of times these apartments that have this style of you go out your door, you can go left, you can go right, and you hit a cement set of stairs. This could be either one, but you have to declare, you have to pick one and stick to it the rest of the life of this building. But right now, this can easily be an SB 721. But let's continue forward. Let's see what else you have here.
Be redone and re-cemented. Here's the dry rot area that was obviously creaking as I was stepping right above on this walkway.
Yep. Suspect requiring further investigation.
There's suspect requiring further investigation. There's a similar issue on the second story of the cracking in the cement. That looks like it's similar to the lower story.
So what are we seeing here? The membrane we're looking for doesn't exist. The membrane was a slab of cement, yet the slabs of cement have cracked. And all these cracks are feeding water to the wood structure that holds this slab of cement, which is 2 to 4 inches thick. So that needs to be addressed. That's our membrane examination on the very top, as well as a railing examination saying, hey, water is definitely getting down below. And as you've seen in the previous a few seconds ago, we were underneath looking at all the cracked wood. Okay, so let's continue going forward. But as you can see, when there's a lot of wood, it's SB 721. Keep going.
Where it's every single rectangle has cracks, or one, at least one. So it looks like there's some rot up here with the light bolts and the stairs being supported. There's some wood rot right here.
I'll do it.
The railing has the same issue up here as below, where it's not the right
epoxy.
Epoxy. We need more better cement.
So can't take the lateral load test?
Yeah, we'll fail the lateral load test. There's a lot of cracks in the cement. There.
Again, 15 to 30 seconds only, snippet, just.
There. Pretty much almost every single one of these rectangles has a crack on it. So this is creaking right here as you put weight on it.
Are you recording that statement?
Yeah. I'm sure you can hear that. Definitely a safety issue. So the rebar is popping out and causing cracking in the cement due to the water damage and the water intrusion, penetration, because there's no sealant.
And it rusts the rebar first.
It rusts the rebar first, so the rebar will explode and expand, causing the concrete to be at its weakest point and causing it to rip out. There looks to be a little bit of mold or dry rot.
So let me give you a little bit about the cement here, which is important. Okay, that's a great shot. Leave it right there. So what that means is, guys, that all these treads are pre-manufactured. So the iron guy buys the steel, he makes these little steps, and he buys these prefabricated cement slabs. The reason why these things don't crack under pressure, but rebar, because today's rebar is all treated with a coating so it doesn't do this when water finally gets to it. But what happens is they'll spall the hell out of your treads. But at the same time, it's going to take a lot of spalling before these things will crack. And if there's an elevator, I mean, if there's a refrigerator going up the stairs, it's not going to buckle on you. You know what I'm saying? So don't worry about it buckling, because if it does buckle or crack in the middle, the rebar is what holds it together, and it's going to give you a scare, but it's not going to drop you through the staircase. Okay, but you will definitely start seeing that water has been getting to the rebar. The rebar is spalling, and the only thing you can do when it's early, you can patch this and Thompson water seal the top, and then patch the bottom. But if it gets worse, you have to replace the whole tread with a new piece of manufactured concrete treads here. Okay, so let's go on. Let's play it some more, and we're almost done here.
A little bit of mold or dry rot here under this.
Can you hold it there?
Wood.
So that's what it looks like, guys. That's what white, the dry rot, that's what it looks like. It starts out as white. This is not including carpenter ants and termites getting in here and doing their dirty job, but this is a soft wood right now. And this is the result of the cement slabs above with all those cracks feeding constant water to all these wood. Look how wet that looks. And this is underneath. There's no way it's supposed to look this wet. So wetness is a wet rot that then turns into dry rot, and a lot of times it's the white that comes through, and some of these things now become necessary repairs after you seal the cement on top. So all those slabs on top needs Thompson's water seal also, and any crack needs to be addressed, sealed with the appropriate caulking for cement. Okay, let's continue.
Or dry rot here under this wood, under this edge of the fire escape.
Yep, there's a huge crack right above you. Cracks everywhere. White rot everywhere.
Water seal, so guess what happens?
There's the crack right there. All right. So let's continue. That's the SB721 and 326 inspection. They're all the same. Okay. Now, what we have here, and let's grow this one. This is for all of you that just love information. So this is an engineering firm, and they go for an hour. They go into everything, the termites, your location, and different things. And if you really want to learn a lot about SB721 and the proper inspection by a very expensive engineering firm that's going to come out and just do everything to the T. So be aware, there's pricing structures. Okay, leave it right here. If you can leave it right there, that'd be great. This is an exposed deck for us. Love this. Cheapest way. There's not a lot of cost. We come in, we look at the back, we look at the front. We're looking for any damage. The paint will give it away if the wood is rotten, because people that just paint over rot, we can see it. We know what's going on. They're trying to hide. But every now and then, this is covered by sheetrock, or this is covered by Durarock and stucco. And sometimes that stucco is 1 to 2 inches thick. This is perfect. Look at this. You can see something's up over here. You know what I'm saying? And it's a giveaway. It's a giveaway whether you got dry rot, whether you got carpenter ants, whether you got termites. You're going to get up there anyway and start stabbing it with a tool to see if it goes right through. We can hammer it, and the hammer is going to have a nice sound, a thud or a pong, like dunk, 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 versus a dunk, 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 dunk. And that's telling you the wood is dead. If the wood is dead, then some of these things need to be sistered. Some of these things need to be opened up. Some of these things need, joist hangers, whatever. These are all going to become as recommendations from anybody doing this job. Okay. So let's, this is an engineering firm, and they did a great job. 1 hour of this stuff is what you're going to hear. And they go really in depth. So great piece that you want to have. All right. Let's talk about what can happen when it's one thing for you to have a collapse of some kind, okay, on your building, and you have tenants and friends on your building. But here's an example of the worst time that you can have a collapse of any kind is when you're hosting, and you're a bed and breakfast, and you're hosting a show for the fire departments nationwide. One of the biggest shows is in New Jersey, Wildwood For a week, all the fire departments from the country come down and hang out in Wildwood, New Jersey, and they rent these Airbnbs right on the water, and there's 3 floors of just firefighters, their friends and their family and their children. Watch this.
From a surveillance camera mounted inside, this new view of last weekend's multi-level deck collapse in Wildwood and the panic that followed.
But it's completely collapsing. There's people under there.
People were on and below 2 upper-level decks that came crashing down Saturday evening, the second level falling first. On the video, a man appears from the rubble, his hand on the front door, before others come rushing from inside to open it and help. Amid the chaos, a man then emerges from the debris with a young child in his arms. They fall through the doorway just as the 3rd floor deck collapses.
This gentleman's actions were heroic and life-saving, in my opinion.
Police body camera video we first brought you Thursday captured a team effort to rescue a volunteer firefighter trapped under debris. More than 20 people, including children and firefighters from South and North Jersey, were hurt in the deck collapse at this 7-unit condo building on Baker Avenue. Those firefighters and their families in Wildwood at the time for the annual New Jersey Firemen's Convention. It's unclear if investigators are any closer to figuring out what caused the collapse. I reached out to the city's construction official, but did not hear back by our deadline. In Wildwood, I'm Ted Greenberg, NBC 10 News.
Okay, so what did you see there? You basically are seeing, and if you from this shot right there, you can see that you still have a roof, an unsupported roof, that everybody is working on this. And if that roof chose to basically buckle at this time, because look at how much it's cantilevered. It is cantilevered too much. You know what I'm saying? And it's amazing that that didn't give itself away while they were getting these people out, because that roof needs the legs coming all the way down to the ground that support each individual platform. It's gone. So can that roof come down on top of all these people? It didn't, but it could have. All right. So this is what happens when you have 50, 75-year-old structures and a ton of people on it. And those fire escapes, those balconies can hold people. You can fill that to the brim with as many people as you want, because they're rated to have more people than can physically stand on a fire escape. Most fire escapes and balconies that you fill with people, if everybody is 2 foot square and they each weigh 200 pounds, that balcony can only hold so many people physically, but it's rated 1,000 pounds more easily that can be on there for it never to collapse. But obviously something happened here. In order for this to pull away from the buildings, because something happened, and a lot of it is just dry rot, wood rot, carpenter ants, something. And is there a code in New Jersey to inspect your balconies? No. Is there a code in anywhere in the U.S. to inspect balconies? No. So what's the only place that has a code? It's California. When did they put it out? 5 years ago. In 2020, January 1, 2020, they gave you 5-year heads up and said, everybody in California, you must have your balconies inspected every 6 years by 2025. So this came out in 2019. They gave you 6 years to get your actions together. So SB721, they're going to start, having violations. They're going to have, and by the way, what's the insurance? Do you know what happens when you have a requirement to certify your balconies as well as certify your fire escapes, and you don't, and there's an incident with a tenant or a fireman? The insurance company has all the right to say, there's a law here, you're supposed to follow it. I don't care if you knew about it or not, but we're not going to pay this incident. You pay for this incident with your building. That's the liability concern that we have right now. All right, let's move on to back to the website. This is a great one. This is a guide on here so that says anybody can fix their fire escapes. Anybody can fix their decks. Anybody can fix their balconies. So if you have the time, the skill, the desire, as long as you have a great inspection with a photograph that tells you, here's your problem. With the same documentation, here's where the violations are in a video. So make sure you get photographs of the problem. Make sure you get a video of the problem so that you can do some self-help. You can just say, hey, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to do the work myself. Great. If you have the skill in the set. If not, I'm going to go to Craigslist. I'm going to get a local handyman to come in and take care of these. And they can. They can come in and take care of the membrane issue. They can come in and take care of a rotten piece of wood. They can come in. Or you can say, nope, I'm going to use a professional carpentry company that's going to come in, a general contractor. We're going to not only fix these decks, we're also going to take care of some other things on this wall that we're going to have. So as long as you have a good initial evaluation of just what the problem is with a photo and a video, things are going to change. Things are going to be working in your direction. So let's listen to this. This is a pre-inspection and then a post-inspection. And any evidence of fire escape engineers inspect the summary video. Here we are in Reading. We're doing a wood deck, rear porch. Fire escape must be structurally sound, must be kept painted or stained in this case. And any evidence of wood rot or any evidence of that needs reinforcement, nails popping, those are all going to be taken. This fire escape is in good condition. The only issue is that it does need some routine maintenance in order to bring it back so that it can pass. So at this time we can't proceed to a load test or to a certification by opinion affidavit simply because it has a few issues, and we're talking about 25% of this fire escape. So there's a minimum in order for it to pass, but there's also a maximum that would basically get another 10 to 15 years out of that, and we'll point those things out as we walk along. So I got myself and Inspector Manny Queenie here also with me, and we'll just sort of speak and talk about different things. So starting up here, again, one of the things you want to do is you want to make sure that you pop any and all nails that are coming up that can hurt children's feet. Got to get them back down. Number two, if you got any boards loose, you want to use deck make screws. No more nails, because what happens is through freeze and thaw, those nails just keep coming up. Screws don't come up. Screws are here, nails are here, and so just screws. Any joints, seal it. You start sealing all these joints, you're going to up this for 10 years. Metal gusset reinforcement, you're going to get 10 to 15 years out of this. So let's continue. Any issues up here, Manny?
They're pretty good up here.
All right, so I think
looks like they use screws up here.
Yep, screws up here. I would definitely get into the joints, get all these joints sealed. But she's pretty good up here. Clean out any area. I would power wash it, because some of this material, if you get a power wash, we get a lot of trees in the area. If you power wash this, then you stain it, that's going to make this a 10 to 15 year save. Any nails pop and you got to pound them back, and anywhere with water or snow can accumulate, seal it with clear silicone, paintable silicone. But again, get all your nails back down, nothing that can cut the hands, and up there we're pretty good. No obstructions, so a lot of times you can't have these pots and plants. You have to have a clear 24 to 36 inch walk, and if you're going to have something like this over here, you have to make sure that these obstructions don't obstruct this. So again, there's certain things that you can't have up here, but you can't block. No bicycles, no trash. All right, let's go walking down. Again, this side looks pretty good, Manny. Any questions on this side?
No, this side, being up the upper one, is in good shape.
Yep, considering it's the most exposed.
Yes.
We have this, all again, nails that are popping up, so anybody that has no shoes on, they got to cut their feet, all those nails back down. And anything that's still a little soft, like this one, screws, no nails. Okay, so just get some deck-mate screws, a good gun. As you see the bounce that I got here, Manny, so we definitely got to talk about the fact that whoever cut these stringers cut them too tight. So we're going to have to sister the stringers, pick up a little beef. All right, coming on here, going down. You got the header. The header's already all cracked, and you can see over here that we need to use strapping. The metal gussets, the galvanized metal gussets. Okay, let's keep coming down. Any old cracked board, such as this one, well, I'm glad I pulled this one. Any old cracked board, just take it out, put a new one. But this one, this is a trip hazard. And again, I didn't, any cracks that are on it, when you walk down and your foot and it just goes like that, this is what happens when coming down without even knowing, you're gonna fall down these set of stairs. So any old wood that has a crack front, replace the pieces. Coming down, Manny?
Yep.
Now I'll use this thing as a pointer. All right. Looking up, we need a galvanized metal triangle in the corner, and again with screws. You gotta use what do you call it? The
Joist hangers.
Joist hangers on this side here, because all the nails are now covered by the other side. So just joist hangers on this whole thing. All this piece here, just make sure that everything is sealed. Anything that can accumulate water, seal all these nails. Some of these, again, my boots are catching a lot of these nails. Little kids, they're gonna cut their feet, and that's a liability. You know, some of them can get infections. So anything like this, you can actually put this flag through. As you can see, that's a 1/4 inch. So as water gets in, it rots these things. And a lot of times for these things to pass the lateral load test, you're gonna need a piece of angle that you buy at Home Depot, the galvanized guts that's in here, and you screw it, and they're good. Or they have the 1-inch strap that goes all the way across. And you basically screw it here, screw it there, and then basically there's our rigidity, including any corners. So whatever licensed carpenter is going to do this job, he has to understand what needs to get done. He'll be guided in one of two ways. A lot of times these jobs can either have engineer oversight, and a lot of times residential, they don't have engineer oversight. They can also be guided by a permit, so that the city official is the final one that comes in before it gets certified by fire escape inspection company, or he just has to know what he's doing in order to make sure that what he does is certifiable. Otherwise, for somebody to re-inspect it and then not to pass doesn't make any sense, because you're going to keep paying for the re-inspection. All right, so it's just going to repeat itself from here down. It's a 3-story system. Now let's go to the re-inspection, which is a little further up. Same, and this was done by the homeowner. He came in and took this guidance, again, photographs and video, and he couldn't afford to have a general contractor come in. And so he took an existing system and he just followed the directions. Now go back to, I start from the ground, actually walking up the whole thing. So keep going back, and I'm in the yard. You'll see me in the yard talking, and just start playing. This is me coming back.
The summary video.
Same guy.
Here we are in North Reading. This is a re-inspection of a wood structure where the work was done by the homeowner, with or without the help of a carpenter. So let's take a look. So the fire escape was in fair condition to begin with when we first noticed some issues. So some issues that were originally on the staircase here. Total rebuild of the entire staircase. Obviously the client is showing some skill set, or whoever, in building a standard staircase to grade, to code. So looking back, we had some issues with the pieces up here, as mentioned in the original. What he did is just capped it, more than sufficient. He buttoned up all any loose pieces, added some screws. Here's some of the typical brackets that we were looking for to basically reinforce. Threw in some joist hangers there, as we talked about. Added some additional screws. There's original joist hangers. Put in a new post here. As you can see, added some stability. As you can see here, okay, stiffness. Look at this. This is exactly what we wanted to see. These are all things you buy at Home Depot. Come in and restrap, redo, just make it safe, Get it in there so that the building inspector, the iron work, and the structural engineer, the registered architect, or the licensed or certified inspector is comfortable with this going for another 5 years. So as you can see, good construction, good, everything got put back that was requested on the original, okay? Cap over, corners, as you can see here. Even some of this, they strapped it. Look at all the caulking inside those cracks, okay? This basically stops any more what we call freeze and thaw and ice jacking. So got it. So all the pieces got done. Some additional pieces got removed. Look, good stuff. A lot of stuff like this can be done by the homeowner, but again, in some cases, it does need a permit from the city, because some can be done on the homeowner's permit. Some, if it's an inspection of or repair of a investment property, it does need a permit. But again, that's to be decided by the city official to how far he wants to take it. But this might be on the routine maintenance, which might not need a permit. Look, so you got all the reinforcement. Look at that, see? That was suggested and that was done. That looks good. Using screws. not nails because there was some crack. Reinforce this one, reinforce that one. You see, brackets, strappings, looks good. You know, joist hangers that came into play. All these you can buy at Home Depot, as you can see.
Okay.
Moved some of the pieces. So
as you can see here, guys, let's get back to the website. As long as you're properly instructed what needs to be done and you have a good examination, that's key. Tell me what to do. That way I can get somebody else to do it the correct way. Please have the oversight. And sometimes the oversight is a permit. But just so you know, permits are not always needed when you're doing routine maintenance. So in the majority of the country, this is a routine maintenance requiring no permit. Homeowners can do it. Handyman can do this. Contractors can do this. And again, no permit needed because it's covered under routine maintenance. Reinforcing, repainting, and re-screwing doesn't need a permit. Okay, so let's continue on. Again, it's on this website if you want to learn. So let's talk about some of these crazy, examinations where it's a SB721. It's also a fire escape. It's crazy, but you got to pick one. So this one is already starting to become, one of those that we're like, okay, so let's play that one a little bit above and watch.
So I walked the whole thing, and there's a piece on this side and a piece on that side that is 50-50, as you can see where the property line is. And so there's an overhang. So portion of it is part of this structural concern. I wiggled all the railings there. They seem to be okay. The other side seems to be okay also, but I would have him double check. This is fairly new in the past 10 to 15 years here, but he seems to know what needs to get done in order to reinforce treads. This is where we did most of the inspection. So the failure rate on this thing, because of the railings, is probably in the 25 percentile, in just the adding of necessary repair pieces on the wood that's on this deck. And this also includes, there's a ladder on the back that just needs to be painted, greased, and it needs one of the pieces painted red. So between the long video and the short video, he knows what he needs to get done. But again, it's only a 25%. If he has to replace any wood on this deck, then he already knows if he needs to reinforce any of these with carriage bolts going through. But it seems like, like I said, for 70 years old, this system is not too bad. And if he just goes in and buttons up the system, give it a little bit more tender love and care, find out which one of these woods are rotten, and replace them because he's covered them with metal sheet. So between that, make sure all the treads are tight, the railings are all tight going up. This fire escape should be ready for us to certify in lieu of load test, because again, it's all wood. It's a wood structure. It's probably 70 years old at least, so by his estimation.
All right, so what you have here is one of these that has metal. If you go right to the very beginning of this photograph, you're going to see that as I step over and my fingers go away to the left down a little further, you're going to see a metal fire escape down there, right there. See that? Okay. Further down where I just pointed. Okay. It's just a hair. But there's a metal fire escape there. And that one is subject to the 5-year rule. My hand, man, is really playing the game. All right. So with that, let's get back to the website. And what is it there that we have? We have fire escape systems and balcony systems. So let's stay up at the very first one. Before we get to this one, let's just stay at the other one for a second. And we have to pick our poison. And that should this be a fire escape every 5-year inspection, because he already has metal fire escapes there, and just bring these into, that way you don't have this 5-year and the 6-year rule, because you're quickly going to forget when to do it. So I would put this all under a fire escape rule, even though it looks like it has, it's an SB721 stair. It's not. This is really the only way to get off of this building is in this stair to grade, which is really a fire escape. So the question becomes, when should you consider one or the other code? It's really up to the person you hire to come bring them aboard to basically pick the poison. We can do all of that. We can do fire escapes, we can do balconies only. And so it's very important. The law is the same. Design professionals or others acceptable to the building official are the only ones that can do this. Balconies and or fire escape inspections. Let's take a look at one more deciding factor. Are you a fire escape or are you a balcony? Let's look at that next video. Hey, it's Cisco Kid, the balcony guy in California, SB721s. What do you do? SB326. What do you do and how often do you do it? How about a fire escape examination? And what is this? Is this a balcony or is this a fire escape? Come here, let me tell you some of the things we look at. We're gonna look to make sure that there's no carpenter ants or any damage. And if it's covered by anything, we have to drill holes every 16 inches and get in there with a camera and look. Come underneath here. Same thing here. We're gonna do the same. We gotta get underneath. Whoever's going to do this has got to do both. Then we're going to make sure the railings are nice and tight, including a load test, to make sure none of these railings can fall over when you put your tailbone on it. Now come over here. We're going to look at things like this, and look at that. Look at all that rot. That ladder is hanging onto what? So come here, get closer. This ladder is incomplete to grade. You can't get on this. If you're a little kid or a grandmother, how do you get onto this ladder without climbing over? So there's some craziness happening here with the ladders, and that's all liability. Oh, but they have it there. Yeah, we call that pre-existing non-conforming, but sometimes it's a liability today. And so when you know that it's wrong, we can fix everything, including a metal ladder, put in a little gate there, put in a little gate here that opens in so people can get on this ladder and get to the ground. That's a proper inspection. SB721, 326, or this is going to be a fire escape, because it has a ladder to ground. Turning this not from a SB721 inspection, it's a fire escape inspection every 5 years because of this one ladder. It's an egress, so it's not an SB721. You got to learn these things. Cisco, the California balcony guy. Fire escape services, as well as balconyservicesnetwork.com. All right, so what do we get? We get this law overlaps with other laws. And so we have the Fire Escape Services Network that does both balconies and fire escapes. And then we have the Balcony Services Network that only does balconies and they don't do fire escapes. So it all depends on what you're really asking for. And let's go scroll down to the very bottom. If you want to know the codes that exist that cover everything that you do, let's talk about the California code. The fire code for your fire escapes is that it just came into play January 1, 2022. And there's the liability. If you don't have your fire escape certified and an incident occurs with a tenant or a fireman, you're not covered by insurance, because this has been out since January 1, 2022. We're in 2024. The fact that you haven't done it is your problem. The insurance company is going to deny claim on any incident, and that means the building and the building owner will have to pay the bill, whatever that payout is going to be in a lawsuit. The IBC 1001.3, that's the International Building Code, which doesn't control fire escapes in your state, or because again, it's the 1032 and the SB721s. But if you want to learn about IBC codes, click here. The NFPA, they've been around since 1927. And they have one code for fire escapes: is the authority having jurisdiction shall approve any fire escape by load test or certification, which is called other evidence of strength. But again, you're not run by that code. You're run by the California 1032, the IFC 1104. Okay, so let's go to now the next one, and that is OSHA. OSHA says that exit routes must be maintained during construction, repairs, alterations, and provide alternative egress with equivalent level of safety. So what's that mean? That means if you're doing some work on a staircase of any kind, and that's the only way people can get out, and that staircase is deemed unsafe at the present time, well, you can keep your building occupied and not have the fire department come in and close it down and put people up in hotels by putting up a scaffolding. The scaffolding will have the correct means of egress stairs on that. And a lot of times when it's an occupied building, the staircases in the scaffolding must be 3 feet wide, 7-11 rise and run all the way to the ground. All right. If the building is not occupied, in some cases, your fire and your building department will allow a staircase or scaffolding to be put on there that is 2 feet wide, construction style scaffolding. The decision is made by the building and the fire department together on what an alternative means of egress is, and that you're OSHA compliant under 1910.37. So here's the codes. Okay, let's go down to the very bottom here. What do we have? If you want to get in contact with us, obviously you can just, put some information in and say, please call me. Otherwise, there's going to be, the ability for you to just visit Firescape Balconies, the Balcony Services Network, or click onto info@balconyservicesnetwork.com. If you have any questions, give us a call at 800-649-3333. Thank you very much for attending the class. I'm going to see if there's any questions out there from anybody that have attended the class at this time. And I'll get it from my moderator if there's anybody asked any questions.
First one is, can I do the inspection myself?
Great question. Can you self-inspect? The answer is no. It's a third-party inspection required on fire escapes as well as balconies. And it's very clear. It's only 3 people. It's design professionals. That includes engineers, civil or structural. That includes architects who are registered with your state. That's the second. And the third one, as it clearly states in the law, it's somebody that's licensed or approved to do these kind of inspections in California or in your city. So in some cases, you may have somebody that has a certain skill set or is part of an inspection group of some kind, and that the city official says, yeah, you're acceptable to me because they've provided documentation or examples of their inspection criteria. And in some cases, those people can examine your fire escape, but the city official can still say, I'd like you to have it reviewed by a design professional, meaning that a peer review may have to happen with a design professional or an architect. So great question. What's some of the other questions?
Would you need to satisfy 2 separate certifications, one for a balcony and second for a fire escape egress certification?
Yes, you will. So in some cases, when you have a metal fire escape, which is typical, that one needs, so the question was, do I need 2 separate certificates in order for me to, satisfy the 5-year rule and the 6-year rule? Yeah. If you have metal balconies or metal fire escapes on your fire escape, they get the certificate every 5 years. And then you have some SB721s on the other side of just wood balconies, Romeo and Juliet balconies. Yep, you'd need to give to the city every 5 years the metal fire escapes, and every 6 years the SB721. Can you merge them together all under the fire escape inspection? I think you can, because in the fire escape inspection, you're going to mention the fact that you're handling any and all balconies, because the fire escape has the same similar law. All exterior steel or wooden balconies, railings, crossovers, fire escapes, and they also say external stairs. So that law, they kind of overlap each other. The only one on the balconies, a lot of times balconies do not have a ladder or a staircase off of them. So they are true SB721s. So you can have a building that has a fire escape on the left side and then 8 to 12 balconies on the right side, sun balconies only. All of those are subject to SB721s, whereas the fire escape is subject to the 1032.2 under the new California code for fire escapes. Additional questions? Did anybody ask about costs? The cost side of things? Yeah. So let me tell you what the cost is. There's usually 3 phases. What you want to get is to have somebody come down and familiarize themselves with your location. That's usually a free logistics visit. And what is that for? The logistics visit is to basically introduce themselves to you, okay? And so when they come down, they're going to say, okay, what balconies can I get on from the outside using ladders so I don't have to go through apartments? That's what you want, guys and people like that. But then you're going to have certain apartments that you just can't use a ladder to get to. Certain apartments that are between 2 buildings and you can't get a lift in there, because if you don't want to bother any tenants, you're going to have to go people are going to have access to it from a stair, from a ladder, and from a lift of some kind. And sometimes it's going to be a combination of the two. One side is wide open, yet one side is against the building with clients. And then those specific people will have to open up their apartments so you can get through and do your examination. So the first initial evaluation is to determine the logistics and how easy or how hard this examination is going to be of 4, 8, 15, 27 balconies. Okay. Number two is you're going to have to now get a price to get in there and open up. So if none of your decks are covered, it's easy. It's just I need to physically get on each floor using a ladder or going through the apartment. And I have to do a membrane test. I have to check the membrane and photograph it and videotape it. I also need to do a test on the railing. You want to just wiggle it? Fine. But otherwise, you should load test the railings with 200-pound lateral load test as part of that requirement, okay? So there's your test while I'm there. Just get it done. Get that lateral load test out of the way. It's going to be part of your examination. I also have to look up, and if it's enclosed, I need to look for stains. I need to look for anything that would indicate that there's a membrane issue on the one above, okay? So that's a physical examination where we get there. In order to get there, and all of a sudden I have stucco or sheetrock blocking my visual, I need to have a time when you're going to come out and somebody's going to drill all these holes and they're going to pick up all the dust and then they're going to cap it and they're going to do it the same day, or it's going to be another time when you come back where all of a sudden the holes all got drilled, but now you need to capture information using a snake camera that looks back to the building and its connection and looks front to the nose of the deck to see if there's any dry rot, wet rot, carpenter ants or termites, or any other kind of critter that's eating. Because you can have certain animals living in there for all you know, raccoons or squirrels or anybody. So now let's go into what the final piece is going to be. Because there's a fee for that, so somebody's got to give you a fee structure to say, go and prepare my structure with all these little holes and caps, because you want to close that up so no more animals get in there. So it's got to have a little rubber cap of some kind, so that in the future you don't pay that cost anymore. The caps are there. You can just open it up and pop in there. All right. With the cameras and do every 6-year inspection. So then once there's an examination that's going to come after the holes are made and the camera gets inserted, pictures are taken. And it can happen at the exact same time, or some of these carpenters that open this up are not the examiners. They're going to bring in back the design professionals or somebody acceptable to the building official, and they basically get photographs and video talk the situation. You want to at least get video talk, because some of you don't have time to look at photos and read documents. You want to have somebody saying, hey, on this specific platform in the middle, it's rotting in the back. On that platform over there, it's not in the middle, it's to the left side, it's rotting in the back. There's the membrane above, it's got a hole in it from a chair that somebody cut the membrane from above. That's the kind of information you need. Then the final piece of this puzzle is going to be how much to fix it. Do we have to remove the sheetrock to open it up? Usually. Do I have to remove the stucco to get access and just fix the left side? And if you have great information, you're not going to destroy the whole ceiling. You're going to destroy just the left side, because we have photographs every 16 inches, looking up and looking back, looking forward, telling you where the problem is. So if you can isolate the work that needs to be done to where it needs to be done, cost is lower. Okay. So proper inspection is very important. Okay. But there's a cost in phase 1, first time ever doing it. So it's not going to be cheap. But, there is 3, if not 4 steps in doing these SB721s. So I'll repeat. Site visit. How difficult is it to get on or off these fire escapes without going through the apartments, these balconies? Number 2, get somebody to drill holes where holes are going to be needed so that the inspection can happen at the exact time, or they bring in the examiner to take photos and video of what they see. Step 3, you got to put out proposals. Work is needed. Things are found. We got to put out a proposal. So expect 3, and sometimes there's a 4th. and that is the reinspection of everything. And that reinspection may or may not include permits. Some of the work is minor, some of the work is major. These are all the things that need to be discussed with the building official. And as you know, sadly, they want a permit for everything. But again, the law is very clear in the U.S. When you're doing routine maintenance, there is no permit required. Okay? So it all depends how much maintenance, on how much you're doing. But painting, reinforcing, and sistering, replacing a component, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes the key to a permit is if you're going to penetrate the wall and tie back into the superstructure, that's the only portion that needs a permit, because you're penetrating the wall and now you need an inspector to look at it while it's open, that you have tied it back in correctly. But a lot of times when it's outside the penetration of the wall, there's no permit needed. So I'm going to conclude there with everything you ever need to know when it comes to an SB 721. Visit the website, balconyservicesnetwork.com. Learn as much as you need to learn. And when you get a chance, give us a call. We can help you take advantage of what needs to be done. And we have a network of partners. So we service all of California, but we can't be everywhere in California. Be aware of that. So we work with other people that do these inspections, but they do it our way. Okay? We make sure that everybody understands that the clients need to have information so they can get 3 bids, on that. So we explain what needs to be done. And if the owners can do it themselves, great. If the owners can do it with a handyman, great. And if the owners have to use a carpenter or a construction company to do the work, great. But they can always get 3 bids, okay? Again, the Balcony Services Network is full service. So from beginning to end, 100% can be handled by us. Give us a call. 800-649-3333 is the best number to call. And thank you again for being at this SB 721, SB 326, and the tail end of it being the fire escape law 1032.2 in California. Have a great day.